we've talked about the why, we talked about the who, now we're going to answer the question what. What are you going to say? Okay, this is where we're going to teach the person how to share their story, okay? I'm going to teach you what we teach. Remember, the principle is just teach them how to share the gospel, okay? But what I'm going to teach you today is called 111. What that stands for is one story in 1 minute with one question. Okay, so we're going to teach you how to share your testimony, one story in 1 minute with one question. Okay? The way we're going to do this is we're going to start with teaching you how to share the gospel itself, which is the key piece of your story. So I want you to draw a cross. I want you to draw an arrow down, an arrow up, and on the top of the cross, I want you to draw a crown. Okay, so now let me explain what these symbols mean. The arrow coming down, Jesus came to earth. Jesus came to earth. The cross, he died on a cross to forgive us from what we've done wrong. The arrow up, he rose again from the dead. The crown, he is the king. Jesus came to the earth. He died on a cross to forgive us from what we've done wrong. He rose again from the dead. And Jesus is the king. Okay, so that is the gospel message. We want this to be the clearest part of our story. Okay? So let's practice just sharing that part of the story. Okay?
You share yours first. Example.
Okay, so in my story, here's how I shared this piece. Okay? So I say, but God did something about that. He sent his son Jesus, who came to earth, lived a perfect life, died on a cross to forgive me from the things I'd done wrong, was buried, and then rose again. And if I accept that forgiveness of that he offers, then I just totally messed it up. I needed to accept that forgiveness that he offered, okay? I don't usually just share the gospel. So, but the elements that are important is Jesus came to earth, died on a cross for our sins, for the things we've done wrong, was raised again from the dead, and he is the king. However you want to say that. And you can say it way better than I just did.
But Mom, yours?
My whole story?
No.
Just the gospel
part.
Yeah, it's a little detailed.
Mine's woven differently, but I'll just say it. So, and kind of do it this way in the CAD. So Jesus came to earth, died on the cross, and rose from the dead to pay the price for my sins and yours. And now he has all authority in heaven and earth.
Mine is, and I heard from this gentleman that Jesus came to earth, lived a perfect life, died on a cross for my sins and yours, and then rose again from the dead in 3 days. Now he's the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. So you can see 3 different ways to do it, but you see the essence of the gospel. God sent his son. He died on a cross. He rose again. Now he's the king. Okay? The essence of the gospel.
Okay, so now we're going to teach you how to share your story. So what I want you to do is put 2 circles, one on either side, and then 2 lines. And I'd like for you to think of 2 words. 2 words that would describe your life before you met Jesus. What are some words you could use here? Frustrated,
Anger,
empty, angry,
shameful,
shameful, fearful, unloved. Just examples of words you can use. What are 2 words to describe your life before you met Jesus? What are the words you put down?
Angry and selfish.
Angry and selfish. Anybody else?
Empty and full of shame.
Empty and full of shame.
Hopeless, anxiety.
Hopeless and anxious.
Or anxious. Yeah, sorry.
Fearful and insecure.
Fearful and insecure.
Hurt people and in control.
Hurt people and in control. Anyone else?
Lost and afraid.
Lost and afraid. Hopefully that's helping you think. Okay, so you got your 2 words from before. Now I want you to think of 2 words of how you that would describe your life after you met Jesus. Okay? 2 words. Sometimes they can be the opposites if you can't think of anything.
彼女は完璧主義と罪悪感のこっちなのね。でこっちは許しと自由。だから何か自分の人生に。
Okay, what are some of the words we're getting for after?
じゃあ皆さんどうですか。
Joy and peace.
Joy and peace.
喜び、平安、
Peace and courage.
Peace and courage.
平安。
Filled and free.
Filled and free.
満ち足りる自由。
Anyone else?
Forgiven and better man.
Forgiven and better man.
許され。
Hope and peace.
Hope and peace.
Peace and accepted.
Peace and accepted. Okay. And then, since this is one story in 1 minute with one question, we got to ask a question. Okay? So, I'm going to teach you the question to ask. You don't have to make one up. I'm going to teach you exactly what to ask, okay? Have you ever asked Jesus,
あなたは、イエス様の許しを
for forgiveness
受け取ったことはありますか。
and made him your king?
あなたはイエス様の許しを受け入れて、あなたの王様にしたことはありますか。最後の質問。
Why do I want to ask a question at the end of my story?
どうして自分のストーリーの最後に質問を聞きたい
It
ですか。
drives it home and makes it personal.
Okay, makes it personal.
So it's not just a story. It's something that affects
自
them.
分の
Okay.
に近くに来るから。
It forces them to respond, and you know what the response is.
It gives them an opportunity to respond.
で質問すると、
Perfect.
力も何か言わなきゃいけなくなる。
We have a friend who says if you go fishing and you just throw worms in the water, you're probably not going to catch any fish. So you have to have a hook on your, and the hook is the question.
これがないと魚は釣れない。質問はあれ
I throw a lot of worms in the water
そ
myself.
の
Much better when I use a
は
hook.
い
Okay, so everybody got the question? Have you ever asked Jesus for forgiveness and made him your king? Okay, now I'm going to give you an example of my story. Somebody can time me if you want, because I'm going to try and get it under a minute.
1分間でやります今。
And as I do my story, I'll just move through so that you can see how this goes. So I usually start with, can I share my story with you?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. So for a long time, I tried to be perfect and do everything right, but I kept failing and messing up. And it made me feel really frustrated and super guilty. So I was talking to a friend about this one day, and she said, well, no whoops, because God tells us in the Bible that everybody's messed up. But he did something about that. He sent his son Jesus, who came to earth, lived a perfect life, died on a cross, was buried and rose again to forgive you from the things you've done wrong if you ask him. To me, that sounded like the perfect solution. So I went home, I kneeled down, I told God I was sorry, and I asked Jesus to forgive me, and I started following him as my king. Not only did I experience that forgiveness my friend told me about, but just the freedom So I'm not trying to have to be perfect on my own. So my question for you is, have you ever asked Jesus to forgive you and made him your king? Okay, how many
Wow.
seconds?
7 seconds.
57. Woo, we're just there. Okay, so what? So what were my 2 words, if anybody caught?
Frustration.
Frustrated, okay.
Guilty.
Frustrated and guilty, right. And then, what were my 2 words after? Okay. Forgiveness? Freedom. Okay. So that's an example of how to tell your story in a minute or less with the gospel right in the middle, very clear gospel, and then a question to get a response. So somebody else wants to share their story, for example.
Go a little bit slower because I wasn't able to translate. Sorry.
So I won't make the 1 minute then.
Sorry.
Okay. So when I was a teenager, I did a lot of really stupid stuff. And I hurt a lot of people. And that was in spite of growing up in a religious home. And it became real obvious that with me in control of my life, it wasn't going to end well. So thankfully, when I was 21, I made the best decision of my life. I decided to let Jesus be in control. Because he came to earth, died on the cross, and rose from the dead to pay the price for my sin and yours. So we can be forgiven and have a relationship with God. Now, not only do I have confidence that I'm forgiven, but for 40 years he's been making me a better man. I always ask a different question. So how about you? Have you ever asked Jesus for forgiveness and made him your king?
That was still.
And what if I say? So I say no. No, I haven't.
Would you like to? Is there anything keeping you from that?
No.
Just know this: the kingdom of God has come near to you.
What is the question you usually ask?
Would you like to receive his forgiveness, stop serving yourself, and put him in charge of your life?
Which is basically the same question.
Same.
We just
different
when we
words.
train, we tell people the question because otherwise it's hard for them, or they'll just ask a question that it's not a very good hook. Okay, so who else would like to share their 1 minute story?
Oh.
Nobody?
When I was a young guy, go ahead.
You can at least let everybody do it. It's not a problem.
So early in life, I experienced a lot of loss and betrayal, and that made me really fearful and insecure. Now, I'd grown up in the church, so I had been taught about Jesus, and so I knew he'd come to earth and died on the cross and rose from the dead so I could be forgiven. And I wanted that, but I was mad at God, so I couldn't let him have authority. So I had lots of problems, and I attempted to resolve those all sorts of crazy ways. And not only did that make things worse, it didn't work, and it really made things worse. So one day I was kind of desperate, and I finally said, I'll let you be in control, Jesus. And ever since then, I finally have experienced the peace and acceptance I'd always longed for. So, have you ever asked Jesus for forgiveness and let him be your king?
Anybody else? Anybody else brave enough to do it in front of the whole group? Check? Okay. Oh, he's brave. I know he's brave.
So when I was a young guy, I joined the Army and became a paratrooper. But I was scared to death of jumping out of the airplane. So I made a deal with God. If you open my parachute, I'll go to church every Sunday. And one Sunday I heard about Jesus coming to earth, living a perfect life, dying on a cross for my sins. And then he rose again from the dead. And now he's the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And I wanted him to forgive me of my sins, and I wanted him to take control of my life. So I made that commitment to him, and then since that day, I've experienced peace and courage. And my question for you is, have you ever asked Jesus for forgiveness? And do you want to make him your king?
Okay. So you've heard 3 or 4 examples. What I'd like for you to do now is pair up with somebody, and we're going to practice sharing our 1-minute story with the other person, okay?
Question.
Okay.
How do you do this for people who were saved very young?
Good.
Because I was saved at 5 years old, and before that I was into drugs and drinking. You know, I mean, just like, so what, most of mine is after I accepted Christ, but then these sins were being revealed to me, and then, learning that even as a Christian, I still have to release these to Jesus and has his. So most of my testimony is after. So how do you?
So I had this problem too, because I was 5 years old when I made this commitment. So what I did is I asked God, okay, help me to communicate my story in a way that will reach the most people. So I was 5 years old. My friend was my mom. It's like, but I felt like God's like, your story is just as important.
Right.
And I remember feeling those feelings of trying to be perfect, feeling frustrated and guilty. He brought that to mind, that's how I felt, even at that young age. And so I feel like you have just as valid a story.
Yeah, and I know I do, but it's then explaining it to other people and helping them find that it's often difficult.
But that's my story. But did you hear me say I was 5 years old? And,
Right. So just leave that part out.
Yeah.
That's good.
And because you want your story to be able to. It's your story, so it needs to be real, but you also want it to communicate. Like, I didn't say the word sin in my story because that's not a word that most people are familiar with. It's kind of a churchy word. So I say the things I've done wrong. Everybody understands that. So you want to try and, even if you were very young, even if you had a crazy life, and you don't want to glorify what you were doing wrong.
Right.
You want to glorify what Jesus did. So even if you have an exciting testimony, you don't want to, play that up. You want to say that.
Now, one of the other issues that you'll face, that's a great question, Nathan, so you'll have to work that out. But think about training a brand new baby believer on his after.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you feel right now?
These 5 young soldiers that I led to Christ, I taught them how to share their story immediately. I took them through the 411. So, how old are they in the Lord? Like 10 minutes. And so instead of asking, how did your life change? I asked them, how do you feel now since you're following Christ? And they were like, oh, peace, comfort. And they are identifying with this good news and Jesus coming into their life. And I asked, so you were stressful. That was one of your words before. Are you feeling stressed right now? Oh no, this is like a weight off my shoulders. I said, do you know anybody around you that has a lot of stress? He said, yeah, we know a lot of people that are stressed out. Go share your story. And they said, yeah, we'll share it with everybody in the barracks. So, anyways, go after the feeling words for a brand new baby Christian. How do you feel on that?
I mean, if these, if it's a person coming to Christ, they're genuinely most of the time very excited. So we're just helping them to communicate what just happened to them. They are feeling all kinds of stuff, and they're gonna tell everybody too. We're just helping them to tell it in an effective way. Okay, so any other questions? Okay, so what we're gonna do now is practice sharing our story. So just pair up with somebody. Do you want me to time you, or do you want to just? Okay. Yeah. Why don't you time each other? One person, the person's listening, can be the timer, and try and keep it under a minute. Why do we want to keep it under a minute? Let's answer that question.
People are busy in Japan.
People are busy in Japan. Okay.
It's clear.
It's clear.
It's not too confusing.
It's not confusing.
And when it's under a minute, it's well thought through. So you get to the point.
Okay.
Not all the other stuff.
Okay. And another thing is people are like, oh, it's only a minute. Well, this is the beginning of the conversation, okay? If you think of it as, if the person is ready to enter into God's kingdom, we will have lots of conversation time. But if they're not interested, I'm not going to waste my time or theirs speaking for a very long time, okay? So go ahead and pair up, share, have the person listening time, and then switch.